Hello folks, Wager Detective here, and do we have a cap for you right now? It's going to be a great cap and breakdown. Be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. We're going to recap that game that I gave you earlier. All three of them missed. I went live. I called the, Tigers money line, Tiger minus 1.5, over 8.5. All three went against. Could be a time to fade Wager Detective. Take these videos and do what you want with them. Fade them, ride with them, but that was pretty bad. And I'm noticing the last couple of days on a very losing streak. So I don't know if, me personally, this is how I think, guys. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm delusional, whatever. You start to build, you start to get your name out there. I'm so small, why would they worry about Wager Detective? I'm putting information out there that no other capper in the world is giving you on a game. And I'm noticing things in games that are happening that are just way off than what they should be. Call it crazy, call it delusional, call it what it is, but I'm going to give you the cap on this game, and let's get into it. Be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Set alerts on Twitter. Follow the Wise Guys Gambling Syndicate on Twitter as well for exclusive info that's going on in the game. Okay, so here we go. Cubs versus the White Sox. Now we'll break down the Cubs right now. The Cubs 29-16 on the year, 6-4 in their last 10. They're 11-11 on the road this year, 4-1 in extra innings. If the game should go overtime, extra innings, something to keep in mind. The Cubs are 9-2 in one-run games, and they're 7-6 in interleague games. Now, night games at the White Sox. The Cubs are 7-2 in their last 9 night games at the White Sox. Okay. And 5 have gone over and 4 have gone under. So something to keep in mind there. So the Cubs 7-2 in the last 9 road night games against the White Sox. This isn't your regular White Sox team anymore. It's a different team this year. They're playing well, and we'll get into that cap as we go. The Cubs on the road night games this year, they are 9-5, 8 over, 6 under, total coming in at 8.5 per game average. The Cubs are 5-4 in their last 9 games overall, 3 over, 6 under. They're scoring 4.11 runs per game to 3.66 runs per game for their opponent. That comes out to 7.7 runs per game over the Cubs' last 9 games overall. Now, if we look at them on the road against the American League this year, they are 5-5. So that is something to keep in mind as we get into this cap. Okay, so again, Cubs 5-5 on the road versus the American League this year, 4 over, 6 under, that 8.5. The Cubs are scoring 4.3 runs per game on the road versus the American League this year, and they're giving up 3.5 runs per game to their opponent. And the Cubs have given up 4+ runs 5 times in their 10 road games against the American League this year. The Cubs have scored 1 run or less 4 times in their 10 road games against the American League this year. On the mound is going to be Taliesin Tylon for the Cubs. The Cubs are 4-1 in his last 5 starts, 2 over, 3 under. In those last 5 starts for Tylon, 29 innings pitched, 11 earned runs, 10 bases on ball, 23 Ks, and 6 home runs, and has given up 21 hits. And that comes out to a 3.41 ERA, 1.07 whip, and he's giving up 1.86 home runs per 9 over his last 5 outings for Tylon. If we look at the fly ball ratio, he's faced 117 batters in his last 5 outings, and he's given up, again, 6 home runs, but he's given up 51 fly balls in his last 5 outings against 117 batters faced. That comes out to a 43.6 fly ball percent ratio for Tylon in his last 5 outings. So he's pitching the contact, and when it does, it's getting in the air. Against this lineup, this White Sox lineups, I don't know if that's going to be necessarily a good thing coming up in this game. Now, if we look at Tylon, his last 5 on the road on 5 days rest before the All-Star break, Tylon, the Cubs are 3-2 in those games, and 4 over, 1 under in those games. So Tylon, the Cubs are 3-2 in Tylon's last 5 games on the road on 5 days rest before the All-Star break. And the average score in those games is coming out to 10.4. The Cubs are scoring 6.4 runs per game in that split to their opponent's 4. Now, if we look at what he's done in his in those games again. You got to really think. You got to understand. You know, you're on the road. You're on 5 days rest. You know, you're giving up some runs there. In Tylon's last 5 games on the road on 5 days rest before the All-Star break, he has 28 innings pitched, has given up 24 hits, 15 earned runs, and 8 walks over that span for a 4.82 ERA and a 1.14 whip, and he's given up 2.89 home runs per 9 over that setting. So that's something to keep in mind. 5 days rest on the road before the All-Star break, 4.82 ERA, a 1.14 whip, and a 2.89 home runs per 9 over that span. So that's the Cubs side of things. If you look at it, I mean, they're looking pretty good, right? They're 9-5 in road night games this year. They're 5-4 in their last 9 overall. They play the White Sox good in Chicago over that time. They're 7-2 in night games at Chicago White Sox, and they just beat them yesterday, right? They pretty much own this team, but I don't necessarily know if this is the team that it was before, that it was years ago for this team. We're going to take a look at the White Sox here and see what they've done. The White Sox this year, 22-22 on the year. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They're 12-10 at home and 2-3 in extra innings. So it goes to extras. The Cubs are more adept at winning those games, 4-1 for them. And again, the Cubs 9-2 in one-run games, something to keep an eye on. But the White Sox having a great year, playing 500 early on. 44 games in, and they're 22-22. The White Sox 6-5 in home night games this year. 8 over and 3 under in those games. The White Sox scoring 5.36 runs per game to 5.81 for their opponent. Comes out to 11.1 runs per game in the White Sox home night games this year. The White Sox have scored 5+ runs 9 times in their 11 home night games this year. Folks, that's pretty daunting, right? That's pretty daunting. Okay, let me break it down for you again. White Sox 6-5 in home night games this year, scoring 5.36 to 5.84, 11.1 runs per game in those games. And the White Sox have scored 5+ runs 9 times in their 11 home night games. And their opponents have scored 2 runs or less 3 times in that split as well. So that's something to keep in mind on going into this game tonight. Okay, now if we look at this, 5-4 for the White Sox their last 9, and if we look at that, that's 5 over, 4 under, 8.5 in those games. The White Sox have scored 5+ runs 6 times in their last 9 games. Now, the White Sox last 9 have scored 4.88 runs per game to 5.33 for their opponent. That comes out to 10.1 runs per game over the White Sox last 9 games overall. The White Sox this year are 1-3 versus the American League at home this year, 3 over, 1 under. 3.5 runs per game to 5.5. That comes out to a 9 runs per game average. If we look at the White Sox this year overall versus the National League, they are 6-10, 11 over and 5 under. The White Sox have scored 5+ runs 7 times in 16 games versus the National League this year. Their opponents in those games have scored 5+ runs 9 times. So you could see here how this game could be a high-scoring game, but the next part of the cap is going to kind of reel that back in. We got Davis Martin on the mound. The White Sox are 5-0 in Davis Martin's last 5 outings. Okay? Those wins have come against Seattle, the Angels twice, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Athletics. In his last 5 outings, Davis Martin, 27 innings pitched, 24 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 walks, no home runs. That comes out to a 1.33 ERA and a 1.11 whip for Davis Martin over his last 5 outings. And they're not against bad lineups. You got the Arizona Diamondbacks, who in my opinion are one of the best lineups in baseball. Seattle, another one, as the season progresses. Angels, maybe not as much. And then the Athletics, maybe not as much as the Cubs. Cubs hit the ball. But this guy is absolutely winning every time he takes the mound. Last 5 outings for Davis Martin, the White Sox have won. And a 1.33 ERA and a 1.11 whip over those 5 outings. Again, we said with Tylon in his last 5 outings, the Cubs are 4-1. But he does have a 3.41 ERA, and he's throwing 1.86 home runs per 9 against competition in his last 5. And if you look at this lineup, look at these guys: Murakami, Montgomery, Benintendi, Kelnick. You got guys in that lineup They can lift the ball. Now, you see the winds blowing right to left, 9 miles per hour. It's going to be a nice 78 degrees, 18% precipitation. That seems to me run-inducing weather, right? It seems to me. It seems that's the way it's going to be. 8.5 looks light. And if we look at Davis Martin this year on 4 days rest, or on 5 days rest, right? Hold on. Let me look at this. Make sure I got this right. I believe he's on. I want to see here. Davis Martin last pitched on the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Okay, so he's on 15th. Yeah, today's the 16th. So he's 4-0 on 5 days rest this year for Davis Martin. 25 innings pitched. 25 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 0 home runs, and the guy's just pitching fantastic. In those 4 starts with Davis Martin on 5 days rest, he's got an 0.72 ERA and a 0.90 whip. Guys, I got to say here, after getting beat yesterday in the opener of this Subway Series between these teams, that I do believe that the White Sox get it done tonight. They scored 5 runs yesterday, even though they gave up a lot of runs. I don't know who was on the mound, but whoever it was, it's not going to be Davis Martin. And I think Davis Martin is showing in his last 5. I think this game goes over. I think at some point the Cubs will score. They might jump on him early. I doubt it, but they could grab 2. And then late, after Martin goes out, I could see them getting at least a couple more runs, if not getting to at least 5. But I do think with the metrics we said, Tylon 4-1 with the Cubs in his last 5. The Cubs have won 4 out of their last 5 when Tylon starts. But a 3.41 ERA. The whip looks good, but home runs could get to him at this point. Look for Murakami to hit a home run. He's given up 1.86 home runs per 9 over his last 5 outings, whereas Davis Martin has given up 0 home runs in his last 5 outings on 27 innings pitched. So that's a full 3 games of not giving up a home run, which is pretty impressive. And then 4-0 in 5 days on 5 days rest this year, not giving up a home run. I just believe, guys, that this is going to be a game that the White Sox should win. I think they're going to get to Tylon. I think this game does go over again, but I think my stronger play here is going to be the White Sox to win this game and beat the Chicago Cubs. This is Wager Detective here. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you for listening and tuning in. And more than anything else in the world, guys, Wager Detective loves all his fans. I'll talk to you soon.